Hey everyone, welcome to the Simple Electronics Podcast. I'm your host, Dan from the Simple Electronics YouTube channel. This episode is brought to you by PCBWay. More about them a little bit later on, because today I don't have any special guests yet again. I've been really busy and honestly, I just haven't followed up with the couple of guests that I have, that are supposed to join me on the podcast. So it's just you and me again. And what have I been busy doing? Well, I've been making videos. In fact, we're going to talk about the couple of videos that I have made and released, and the couple of videos that I have made and have edited but not released yet, and one that I've made. So it should be pretty fun. So yeah, first things first. Statistically, if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably seen my latest video, as of the time of this recording, which was my first look at the LTT screwdriver. Now, this one actually came as a big surprise to me because it hit 2.5 or almost 2,500 views, 2,300 something views at this point. Fun fact, YouTube sort of truncates the view numbers for us too in the back end. So 2.3K is pretty much all I can tell you at this point. But yeah, it was actually not meant to be a special video. Some of you picked up on it possibly, but it was my camera test. So it was the first video that I filmed with the new D780 that came in the mail, a week before. And I recorded this, I believe I was live at the time. Yeah, I must have been live on my live streaming channel, link in the description. And I filmed live and we put it together and then I cut it and, made it into a video. So first things first, on the technical side, the new camera is great. It has some great attributes. Big thing is autofocus. I think there are a couple of scenes in that video that didn't quite autofocus well. So you really have to, you have to tell the camera exactly where you want to autofocus. It doesn't have sort of the smartphone algorithms to figure out what should be in focus and what shouldn't be. And I think that my desk mat with the lines doesn't help because it has this high contrast thing that it wants to lock onto. But if you just click on the LCD, what you want in focus, it does a fairly good job of tracking that. So that was pretty nice. Also, I recorded that in 4K. Now, not 4K 60, but 4K 30 frames per second. And that could be problematic because the file sizes are absolutely gigantic. So if I'm just looking, that's a fairly short video. I mean, it ended up being 20 minutes, but really, very simple, not a lot of movement. So not a lot of, issues for the encoder to keep up. But yet it did generate a large amount of space on the drive. If I'm looking, it was 20 gigs of raw footage for that over 4 videos. So 20 gigabytes, quite large. And then in my editing software, I actually set it to export at 4K 60 frames per second. So you guys get the full experience of what it looks like visually, as many pixels as possible, especially when in an era when YouTube at the moment is doing some 1080p videos in high bit rate and low bit rate. And if you're not a premium subscriber to YouTube, you only get the low bit rate in that case. So if your internet bandwidth will allow you, I recommend putting up the resolution to either 1440p or 4K just to get, a little bit better quality. On the creator side, we don't get paid any differently. AdSense is all the same no matter what resolution you watch at. And so really it costs YouTube a lot more to serve a 4K video, literally 4 times the resolution of a 1080p video than it does for a 1080p. But I figure the 4K is going to be nice if I do something wrong in framing, for example. If I didn't zoom in enough, I can punch in and get a little bit more pixels. And I think there's a couple places on that video where I do punch in to show what I mean. Like I think one was the knurling, for example. So technically, that part was pretty good. The video part was pretty good. I didn't set the ISO, the sensitivity of the camera, to be always constant. It was set to auto by default. And that caused issues. So you'll see from scene to scene, the luminosity will either increase or decrease depending on what is in frame. You see this in Big Clive videos too, but he cheats it with a piece of paper, and then he'll make it, he'll put a big white piece of paper on screen, and then he'll compensate the exposure, and then he'll bring in his device, or vice versa, bring something dark, compensate the exposure, lock it there, and then bring it in. So I didn't do that the first time. I was just learning the camera. So the next video you'll see is going to be a lot more stable. Another thing that was a little bit of a growing pain with this new camera is the microphone sensitivity. So it was on auto sensitivity, which is fine, but there's also like a frequency response range setting. There's two settings, one for, human voices, and one with a lot wider range of, of frequency response. And I had it set to voice, and I typically film with a lav mic, and the lav mic is on my camera stand just about, 10 inches, sort of 20 centimeters or so away from me, and plugged into the, camera's audio jack. And the audio was very bad. Like, it was horrible. So I tried to look for ways to EQ the audio to fix it, but it seemed to not be fixable. So for future recording, I switched up a couple things. I changed the sensitivity, and I kept it in the sort of like the human speech frequency response, and that seems to have been a mistake, because the next video I filmed also has pretty bad audio. So that's a little bit sad on that point. However, I think I got it fixed now, as well as I purchased a new microphone, a new lav mic for creating videos. I ended up going with the Neewer, Neewer, lav microphone setup, which is pretty neat. It's a receiver and two microphones, wireless, in a charging box. They each have their own lithium polymer batteries inside, and it comes in a neat case with a cool feature. There's actually some infrared LEDs, or some UV LEDs, I should say, in the lid. So when you close it for the first time, it shines onto the microphones, and I'm assuming it's to disinfect them, because these are the reel-to-reel ones. They're not the ones that, they're in a plastic sort of casing that will become brittle over time by its own light and then break. These things seem to be in a metal housing, so I do believe they are the proper disinfection LEDs. So anyways, I got that. It'll be connected to the camera in my future productions. But on top of that, it has internal recording, so I'll be able to record separately as well as directly in camera. So if one of the preamps are not very good, then, at least I have that hard recording on the device that I'll be able to edit separately. So pretty excited about that. Cost a pretty penny. It wasn't cheap. It was 110 Canadian dollars. But at the same time, I am planning on going to maker type events. And the fact that there's two of them with one receiver, and they record on separate channels like left and right, that means that I can do in situ podcasts with just those microphones, no other equipment. So I feel like it's a decent investment. And look for, it's probably going to be 3 videos down the line now, but look for the improvement in audio quality to come overall, because a lav mic really close to your mouth is a lot better than a lav mic pointed at your mouth from about 10 inches away. So hopefully that fixes things as well. So then, about the LTT screwdriver. A couple of you were really upset on this, which was kind of interesting to see. So let me just breach the subject as simply as possible. Yes, $70 US for a screwdriver is expensive. I am not making any claims that it is cheap. It is definitely expensive. And it is sort of counter to the ethos of this channel, right? Why spend that much money when you really don't have to? Well, there are good reasons for that. So as I look around my shop here, the workshop in the basement, a lot of the tools and a lot of the things that I use on a daily basis are inexpensive. And a lot of them have been with me since the start of my channel, somewhere in 2016. I can never remember when I actually started my YouTube channel, but that's kind of like besides the point, right? It's been with me for quite a long time. And the funny part is, when I use my inexpensive tools on camera, I tend to get comments telling me that I wasted my money on cheap pieces of Chinese garbage. This is usually the line that they use to describe what I use. However, in my other life, as an automotive mechanic, I have the habit of calling myself automotive technician, but that's fine. Mechanic is fine. It's completely different. There are some tools that I have paid very little money, and they've been with me for, the last 15, 16, 20 years in some cases. And there's some tools that I've paid a whole heck of a lot of money. And typically the difference between those two is not durability, because if the cheap tools made it this far, usually it's because they're durable enough for what I do. But it's the ease of use, maybe not ease of use, but like the joy of using tools, I guess. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. In the automotive world, as a mechanic, it is not uncommon to pay $150 for a ratchet. How do I know? Because I did pay $150 for a ratchet. I have a Matco Tools 88 tooth 3/8 drive ratchet with a indexing head with an index lock, and it is an extended handle. And that was like $150. And this is back in like 2010 money, but it's been with me since 2010. And I was looking around here and I was feeling a little bit down. I mean, I do get that way sometimes. I look around and I think, why am I always struggling to find a freaking screwdriver around here sometimes? And why do I always X and why do I always Y? I can never find a freaking pair of snips to save my life. So I decided last year that I was going to just buy a good screwdriver, and it was going to stay down here, for forever. Essentially, this will be my YouTubing screwdriver. And it could have literally been anything. I could have ordered, there's an Amazon Basics ratcheting screwdriver, which is quite nice. I could have bought a Canadian Tire set of 28 screwdrivers and just strewn them about. But the thing is, I am getting older. I am, 36 now or something like that. I'm getting to a point where some of the tools that are down here in my shop with me right now, some of the PCBs that I have right now in my shop that I've designed, some of the test gear that I have on my shelves, they're going to be here when I die. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Some of the stuff that is down here with me right now will have to be carted away and probably, given away to some sort of makerspace or something, or sold at a garage sale. I don't know. I don't really care what happens to my stuff after I'm dead. But if my wife survives me, likely, she'll have instructions to give it away to people who need it, unless she needs the money, in which case then she can sell it. But what I'm getting at is that there are tools that I have hands on every single day. And so, yes, $70 US for a screwdriver is a lot of money. I agree. But maybe if you couldn't tell, when it comes to stuff for the channel, I'm a little bit looser with my funds. A lot of it is a business expense. Don't forget, the calculus gets a little bit different when it comes to that. However, the LTT screwdriver comes extremely well reviewed by so many media outlets, so many YouTubers, so many insiders, outsiders, people who do not take free samples to test. For example, Project Farm compared it to far more expensive screwdrivers like a Snap-on ratcheting screwdriver. Snap-on is a common brand for mechanics to use. The Snap-on screwdriver costs more, and it is an inferior driver. So I decided I wanted to see what all the hype is about. I was going to get the LTT screwdriver. And on top of that, I mean, Linus, you can love him or hate him. For me, he's an endless source of information on the inner workings of YouTube because I listen to the WAN show every week. He's also fellow Canadian. I love spending my dollars on Canadian causes. He treats his employees very well. For the most part, you should check the results of the harassment claims. It's all been made public what the third party has found. There were some allegations that he hires for low amounts of money. You know, when you're starting out in his company, you're not getting paid a lot. However, the counter to that is that in Vancouver, where he is, there is tons of movie production stuff. A whole bunch of his staff, most of his staff, they have skills that they can walk out the door and get a job anywhere else in their industry, and they would do it. And the fact that there's not that much turnover staff, like there's a little bit more recently, but there isn't much, it speaks volumes. Okay. He, love him or hate him, he is not a typical crypto scam bro YouTuber. I love generally the LTT content. I like his mission. I would never, ever run my YouTube channel like he runs his YouTube channel. I have zero interest of having, over 100 employees. However, I do think he's a positive force on YouTube overall. And so I had no qualms of sending him $70 instead of someone like Snap-on, $100 or whatever it may be. So I got the driver. My first impressions of it, though, they were quite honest. On the WAN show, for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, he droned on and on and on about how the back force, that is like, let's say you're tightening a fastener, so you go clockwise. And then with the ratchet mechanism, when you go counterclockwise to get more, for it to ratchet back, and then you go clockwise again. So he's saying that back force to go counterclockwise when it's set to clockwise is like minuscule. Right, he has done it on screen where he's like just touching with the little tips of his fingers. He says it is the least amount of back force, blah 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 blah. When I tested it, I found that the back force was exaggerated. So yes, there was very little back force, but not like to the point where you could rub a feather up against it and it would ratchet. It was a little bit overstated is what I found. And a lot of people that had it in their hands, they gave it a crank backwards and they're like, oh, wow, look at this low back force. But I think they don't have a lot of experience with ratcheting mechanisms. And so, yes, the back force is light, but it's not like the end all be all and smiths down in the dwarven forges couldn't make anything. Like it has a low amount of back force. They did think about it. That's great. And so it does work, but it's not like that crazy. So I mentioned that. And then I also tried it out on real screws and I said, it actually works really well. So despite the fact that it was overstated, in use, it works really well. Well, some people had issues with me calling out the overhyped nature of it because rightfully so, Project Farm tested the back force and it was lighter than all the competition. Okay, I understand. But it's not like it was exaggerated, essentially. That's all I'm saying. It works perfectly fine. It was exaggerated. Other things I didn't like, the handle is completely smooth. So no texture, no grip, no nothing. It has a triangular shape, so it fits well in your hand. That was well thought of. But it's completely smooth, which is weird. It's a little off-putting having a complete... I look around of all my screwdrivers in here. None of them are completely smooth like that. It was strange. So I just commented it was strange. I also commented that the bit storage was really rough. Like it was had a weird sliding friction. Because if you take on the whole the screwdriver, it's a well thought out tool that works really well. But the sliding friction is all grabby for the bit storage, which I found was weird for something that's overall better thought of. I really wish I had access to the inside so I could just put, I think, literally one drop of pure silicone lube. I think it would be perfect for the bit storage. So I mentioned it, and it seems like some people got upset that I got an expensive tool. Other people got upset that I was quote unquote nitpicking. I mean, I'm here to share my views, folks. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So some people were upset at that. And then others were upset of the fact that I'm like supporting Linus. I think Linus is, I mean, he's a human, first of all, but I also think he's a mostly positive force on YouTube. So that was a bit weird to me. So let me tell you the positives now. The magnetic bit that it ships with is very strong, like very strong. I put weights on a scale and I pick it up just to show you, how much pickup strength it has. So that's very nice. The knurling on the shaft is extremely deep, which is really nice. The ratchet mechanism works very well in practice. The bit storage is nice to have all your bits there. It's a little weird to have the short bits, but hey, it is what it is. I got a whole bunch of extra bits. I bought the Torx bits set because I drive a Volvo. Probably won't make that mistake another time, but yes, that's my second Volvo. And I bought the Allen head bits because we do a lot of work with Allen head screws here on the channel. So I figured, it's good for the channel. I also bought the extension. So that's why it took so long, because I actually ordered this driver probably in like February or something, or maybe even late last year. I ordered it with a free shipping promo, which, takes $20 off the price, which is a lot, especially as a Canadian, because that's $20 US. And then it just showed up, in early June. But then again, I was warned it was going to ship in June, so that's not an issue. Overall, I like the tool. I just feel like the price point is a touch high for a normie, I would say. It's not something that any normal person wants unless they're the kind of person who is mostly careful with their tools. And then you'll probably keep that tool for the rest of your life. It seems good quality, and it's backed by the controversial "Trust Me, Bro" warranty. But it is what it is. I think it's nice. I think it's a bit pricey. I think if I didn't have a business bringing in money, like the YouTube channel, if I didn't have sponsors, AdSense, stuff like that, I don't think it would make sense for me. However, as someone who does a lot of teardowns, it's very nice to have all the bits in one place. And the retention, the bit storage mechanism is quite nice, have all the bits there. So overall, so far, I like it, but yeah, I don't know if it's for everyone. It would be a nice gift to give someone handy, but not necessarily something I would have bought for myself had I not, quote unquote, been doing things with tools professionally. Because the YouTube channel is professional thing. So it's not for everyone, but yeah, I did find that funny that some people rag on me for using cheap Chinesium tools, and then I get ragged from the other end when I buy something of good quality. So weird. So just changing the subject to the other end of the scale, I'll talk about something that will not cost you $70 US. That was 69 US dollars, by the way. Nice. Today's sponsor is PCBWay, as always. So PCBWay has been a sponsor of the channel for a very long time. PCBWay believes in the mission of creators on YouTube. That is the number one reason why you'll see PCBWay sponsorships absolutely everywhere, because they invest in channels big and small to make them grow. And on top of that, they actually provide a really good service. So especially if you're learning circuits for the first time, you can put them together on breadboard or on Vero board, as we tend to do. But you should be proud of your creation and put it on a PCB. So take your designs, especially like 555 timer designs are really cool. You put it together on a PCB sort of software and send that off to PCBWay. It is $5 US, 10 boards, and the shipping is quite reasonable if you are patient. If you are not patient, they even have express delivery, which is quite affordable, but not as affordable as the slow rates. If PCB design is not for you, that's fine too, because they have CNC machining, they have sheet metal work, they have 3D printing in SLA, SLS, and resin. They have all sorts of things on offer. Check them out at the link below, PCBWay.com. Use my link because they support me, and if you use my link, then that gives them more reason to continue their support. So thanks for supporting PCBWay. All right, so the LTT video, the LTT screwdriver video, I should say, that was just a camera test. So the second video that I've filmed with that camera is a video that I'm extremely proud of. And that is a tutorial on how to use a simple little motor driver, the DRV8833. And I really hope I got that right, because I've been confusing the two for a long time. So basically, I was on a live stream and I put together a DRV8833 module that I got from AliExpress, and I gave it a test with a motor. I gave it a test with a second motor. I did a little bit of testing with my input logic box so I can send highs and lows at whatever channel. And then I hooked up an Arduino. I wrote code for this Arduino. And then finally, I filmed a video and wrote a website article. So if you're listening to the podcast, you can actually have free early access to this video. All you have to do is go www.simpleelectronics.ca/DRV8833. And that should bring you directly to the article I wrote about the DRV8833 and how to use it. And the very top of the article has my YouTube video, which is at the moment unlisted on YouTube. So only Patreon has access, but it's just so much easier that, if I wrote the article, I just put the link in there. Not many people go see my website anyways, so there you go. It's a little bonus for you guys if you want to go take a look. So this is a video that I put an immense amount of work. So let's get started from the beginning. So I demo how to use the DRV8833 as simply as possible, simply by using 4 switches on my logic input board. So you plug 2 motors into one side of this module, and then you plug 4 logic outputs from a microcontroller on the other side. And when channel A and B are reversed, so one positive, one negative. I mean, it's a dual H-bridge driver. So one positive, one negative. One motor turns one way, the other one positive, negative. You just swap them. The motor turns the other way. Then you've got 2 more channels. Positive, negative turns one way, positive, negative the other way. And then if you want to break, you just put both positive or both negative, and that stops the motor. What made this so much work is that I also went and coded a simple Arduino sketch, which is available for free on the website. And I even go through line by line and explain absolutely everything to do with that sketch. Every line, what the code does, why it's here. And it should be enough to get you guys going from 0 to whatever your project kind of needs. I even get down to the point where the code has an analog write. So that's a PWM. Like I pulse the logic signal on the Arduino, and that controls the speed of rotation of the motor. And so I went through this enormous trouble to make this super beginner friendly. And I would love if you went and took a look at the article and either commented on the video or send me an email. Let me know what you think about it, because the article's not finalized. I can always adjust it. But I think it's the most complete sort of tutorial that I can possibly come up with. The only thing is that in order to keep the video at a reasonable length, I didn't go through the extra features like the sleep function. I didn't go through using there's another function. I forgot what it does. Oh yeah, it's a fault detection function. So I was like, I don't think I need that for basic projects. So it makes the video quite short. It's 6.5 minutes, but it's very information dense, and I really hope that that people love it. Now, the reason I put so much work into this is because I learn a lot better when I can read stuff at my own pace and then go watch YouTube videos about it. So my initial investigation on how to use a module, I can skim so much faster on a website. So I thought that for people like me who need these kinds of tutorials written down step by step, where I can read something, make sure I understood it, go back and read it again if I need to, and then have a practical demo that I can take a look at. That's my ideal way of learning. And if that's my ideal way of learning, that's probably someone else's ideal way of learning. And truly, I'm saddened these days by people's use of Discord. So Discord is a powerful tool for getting communities to kind of band together and to sort of share things amongst themselves. But Discord, I think, is extremely damaging for outsiders. So if you're just some random, just picture you're some random kid in whatever, middle America. No one that goes to the school that you go to does electronics, for example, or anything, any hobby, right? But no one does what you want to do around you. So you have no one really to ask questions. And you look for something on, Google or whatever, and Google can't find the information because the module that you're taking a look at, that you're trying to use, was created after 2020 when Discord really took off. And so all the information about people using this module is on a Discord somewhere. And Discord is not indexed by a search algorithm. You have to literally find the correct Discord to join and then search that Discord, which is, by the way, not very user-friendly. It's not a search algorithm in the sense that like Google's a search algorithm. It is more like it'll search you for word matches. So if you don't even know the term you're looking for, forget it. You are done. So I decided I wanted to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. And that's why I have committed to make as many tutorials as I can, have both those products, have the video, because the search algorithm is great. On YouTube, people can find it there. In fact, most of the videos that I have that do the best, they come from something that's searchable, evergreen content, as you would say. Tutorials, how to use this, how to use that. And also, I have the web article, which, I don't know, may get Google search traffic. I don't think it will, but regardless, it is there, and it is complete. And you can literally just copy and paste the code from my website directly into your Arduino IDE, and you can set it up the way I have it set up, and it'll work the way it works on my desk and on my video. And I think that's super important. The other thing that I am doing with this whole tutorializing and whatever is that I am slowly but surely documenting all these modules in super high res photos. So I have them sitting flat on my desk. I zoom into a certain, zoom percentage on my camera and take a photo of the top and take a photo of the bottom. And then I use these high resolution images of the modules and literally pop them onto a canvas and draw lines from one pin to another in order to simplify the connection diagrams, to simplify the wiring diagrams, especially to people who are beginners. Now, there is software that does this. Fritzring does this. And I actually believe that I paid for it. Yeah, Fritzing. Fritzing. It's funny. It's installed on my computer. I paid for it. But I found it very difficult to use, especially because I had a module that I wanted to import. And I did that. And it was really hard to get the connection points all set up. And it wasn't very user friendly. So I literally just popped them into my photo editing software and I drew lines between them. And then created those as images and I popped them onto my website. So people who go onto my website and take a look, they can right click save as and have it on their desktop or print it out or whatever, so that then they can go bring it to their workbench and, make the connections as such. Now, it was a decision. It was a joint decision between me and my live audience to put a watermark on it. I feel a little dirty about putting a watermark on, information like this that I'm trying to propagate for free. Let me know what you think. Is it too bothersome that I put a watermark, simpleelectronics.ca, over my images? I'm really concerned about that. I don't like the idea of copyright. I realize, but also at the same time, if these photos go mega viral, let's say they get shared a lot, it's not going to be just my wiring diagram. Eventually, I'm going to have a catalog of high-res photos of all my modules. I kind of would like to drive the traffic back to my YouTube channel or back to my website, and I'm guessing the watermark is the best way to do that. And I know it's not infallible because you can always use an AI algorithm to remove them or just screenshot it from the video, whatever. There's just all these things, but I felt like at the time it was a good idea. Let me know what you think below, though. So yeah, if you're listening to this right now and you have the time to go check out the web article, that's simpleelectronics.ca/DRV8833. Let me know your feedback. I would really love to know how you feel about the layout of the article. Did I go into too much depth? Not enough depth? Let me know how I did, essentially. And if the video is live and you see it on my YouTube channel, I'd really love for you to go take a look and see what I can improve, because I did want the video to be kind of snappy. That's why it's so short. But I also wanted all the information there. And I think that the only really complaints is that it's a lot of information very quickly, which is fine because you can always go back and watch it again, or you can hit, the speed on the little gear. You can put it to, 0.75 speed instead of, 100%. So just let me know what you think, because the plan is to do a lot more of these type of tutorials. I do them live on my live streaming channel, so I'm not all by myself when I do it. I get to chat with you guys and hang out. The 3-4 of you that are often in chat, I really appreciate you guys to coming and hanging out. But on top of that, it just makes my work, quote unquote, my work day a lot better when I get to share it with you guys. So yeah, that's it for that. I hope you guys like that video. Now, the next video I shot, and this should be the last video with audio issues, is to finally take a look at some of my Unity gear a little bit closer. So I'm doing a first look video on my Unity gear, and I'm starting with the power supply, the Unity UT3305S, I believe that's it. And, since I've been having burnout for the last month or so, or two actually, probably closer to 2, I hope I really didn't scare away Unity by, delaying these videos. There's just sometimes you just can't get yourself to make videos. And I hope that didn't sour my relationship with Unity, because that thing is freaking amazing. That power supply is some of the higher quality gear I have in the shop here. I mean, I can point to a couple things like my new Voron printer, which I bought. That thing feels very high quality. I can point to the scope that I got from Keysight. That thing feels really high quality. But all this new Unity gear really suits that trend of really high quality. This thing is incredible. I mean, it weighs a ton, right? The thing weighs, I think it was 22.5 pounds, 10.2 kilos. Really heavy. Like a monster of a power supply, but that's because it's a linear power supply. It has a toroidal transformer on the inside and delivers linear power. But the fact that it's huge is one thing, but everything about it just screams quality. Like the ka-chunk power switch, the fact that it uses an IEC cable instead of a built-in cable. The fact that it has inputs and outputs, like digital logic, you can mess with. The fact that it has 1 millivolt or 1 milliamp resolution settable. The accuracy of this thing, it's nuts. So I took it out for a spin, essentially. So I played with the features a little bit. And then I was like, how do I check the accuracy of this power supply? So I guess I could have reached over and got the I think it's a 5.5 digit multimeter that they sent me, but that's not very fun, right? Because I'm trying to evaluate this power supply, and if I keep reaching to tools that I haven't taken a look at yet, I think that's not as fun. So what I did is I connected a whole bunch of multimeters in parallel. The three that I use the most, in fact, which is the Fluke 117, I think it's a 117, that was sent to me by a viewer. The Kaiweets HT118A, which was sent to me by Kaiweets. And then the O1 XDM, hold on a sec. Oh, I don't know now. It's a O1 XDM something or other, 55,000 count multimeters. So I put all of those in parallel together. And then I checked different outputs, and it was interesting to see the trend. The Kaiweets was 1 or 2 milliamps high. The Fluke was 1 or 2 milliamps low. And then the O1 XDM multimeter, the benchtop one, it was 10 or 15 milliamps low. And even Unity's own display was displaying something a little bit different than what all my multimeters were saying. So it's going to be interesting, because when it comes to accuracy, I believe the spec on the Unity is 0.03% plus 10 millivolts. But 10 millivolts, that's a lot. Right? None of I think none of my multimeters were 10 millivolts out, except for the XDM, the O1 multimeter, which was interesting to see. So I'm not quite sure which one to take as my standard, but it'll be really interesting to feed the output of this power supply into Unity's own multimeter, the benchtop multimeter, and see what that reads, because Unity on their gear, they have a traceable test report. So it actually says which the serial number of the standard used to test it. So it'll be really interesting to see if Unity has internal consistency within their things. But regardless of whether or not it's accurate, first of all, it was an unloaded test. I'm sure for the test you need to load it somewhat, at least somewhat, and it's just a first look. So I'm gonna gather some methodology for the review video, but I just don't feel it's right to do a review video until I've actually lived with the darn thing for a while, right? Until I've filmed videos with it and used it so I can really see if it's any good at all. Now for the current test, well, I made those light bulb based variable loads from PCBWay a few months ago. So I found that the 24 volt, so that would be 2 H7 bulbs in parallel. No, wait, sorry, 2 H7 bulbs in series, and then 2 of those paralleled, and then I actually used 2 boards. So I was able to demonstrate not only the serial and parallel versions of the power supply, where you can hit serial and channel 1 and 2 combine, so you can go up to 60 volts, 5 amps. But I was also able to demonstrate the parallel feature where channel 1 and 2 go into parallel, where you can go up to 30 volts and 10 amps per channel, which was really incredible, pumping 10 amps out of this precision power supply. So that was a lot of fun, and seeing the lights light up and everything. It was a lot of fun. So that video is going to be going together at some point this week, and probably released in early access early next week, if everything goes to plan. And then hopefully I'm going to send it to Unity, and hopefully they don't cut ties. That would be really sad. I'm still going to fulfill my end of the deal regardless. I just love Unity tools, and it just sucks that I feel like I have burnt bridges with some sponsors before because of experiencing burnout. It's really hard when you're spending sometimes 25, 30 hours a week on a YouTube channel that is like barely in the positive, right? Without considering your own labor. If I pay myself zero labor, the YouTube channel is very slightly in the positive. But if I were to have to count my own labor, the government would probably arrest me for, paying its only salary, pennies per hour. So essentially, yeah. So anyways, the point is I'm working 2 jobs typically, and with the YouTube channel that the job never really ends. It just, sometimes I get burnout and I can't fulfill deadlines. It is what it is. So yeah, don't feel sad for me though. I mean, these tools are great, and I feel awesome that Unity reached out to me. Hopefully I will reach the audience that they wanted me to reach, and maybe we'll work again in the future. I just, I feel really bad about that, but that's kind of the deal with being a content creator. So those are the videos that I have filmed and in the chamber, but I will probably be streaming live this weekend, probably Saturday and Sunday. We'll see though, no guarantees. Just check out the live stream channel for details. And during those streams, I would love to do some more tutorials, work on at least one more tutorial to put up next week or the week after. These tutorials take a long time, but I'm really passionate about making those videos. So please, if you have any ideas of what kind of modules you want me to make a tutorial about, or what concept or motor or microcontroller even that you're having trouble with, as long as it's not the NRF24L01, because I cannot help you, let me know what you would like to see, in the comments on the YouTube video. You can send me an email or whatever, wherever you can put comments on your listening experience. In fact, I'll tell you what, I just thought of this. I'm going to put a Google form where, I'm going to put it in the description of the show notes or the description of the video. And then you can submit your ideas for a tutorial. And if I'm ever looking for something to do in a live stream, I'm going to look through the form and see what inspires me. So go ahead and do that. Moving on to what I've been up to aside from working on the YouTube channel, because there's going to be a lot of that coming up. Well, I started teaching again, very recently. My program this summer that I was supposed to teach, I've taught every summer since me and my colleague created the program. It was canceled, but there is a different program, not aimed at mechanics this time, but aimed at electricians. And I was asked to fill in a spot on that course, just teaching basic trades math and trades computers. And so that has now started. So that does take up some of my time, but not a lot. It's only about 6 hours a week, and it'll only last 5 weeks. And then they move on, without the trade math and trade computers type section. But it is nice to be in a classroom again. It is nice to be at the college again. I just wish it could be for a lot longer. Other than that, though, I have been making it a point to spend at least a little bit more time in nature. So the wife and I have been walking around the neighborhood a lot more. It's been very nice here in Ottawa, except for a couple of storms. It was Canada Day on the 1st, and that was enjoyable, just mostly hanging out. Even last week, I ended up going up to my parents' cottage after work. So it's a little bit of a drive, but I got the boat turned over, right side up onto the trailer for the year. I put it in the water. My boat motor's working. Everything's working. I do lust for an electric motor, though. I do have an electric trolling motor, but I would really like the main propulsion motor to be, converted to electric. That would be lots of fun. However, being in nature and stuff is fantastic. It's a great way to decompress, but it also makes me yearn for projects. And the one thing I was thinking of is when you have a fishing, like a trolling motor for fishing, there is a type of trolling motor that is GPS controlled. So there's a couple ways you can use it. So first is you can hit anchor lock. When you hit anchor lock, the GPS on the trolling motor will keep your boat exactly where you are. No matter the current or the wind, as long as the motor is strong enough to overcome it, your boat will stay exactly where it is. Really cool concept. And the other thing you can do is you can trace, you can just hit record on the motor. And then you can, trace a path around the shore of the lake or whatever, or around a fishing spot. And then you hit go and it'll recreate that exact, it'll trace out that exact path. So I think that's really cool too. And it made me wonder, as a electronics enthusiast, is this something we can DIY? So I took a look on YouTube, and of course, there are people who have done it. So essentially, they use a stepper motor and a gear, and they use a GPS module and PID control and stuff like that, and they made it work with coding and whatever. If I wanted to buy one of these trolling motors, let me look it up real quick here. So GPS trolling motor. Let's see, the cheapest one I can find, trolling motor, well, one with remote control, I don't know if it has GPS, is $1,000. One for sure that has GPS is $2,000. So 2,000 Canadian dollars. I think I paid like $80 for my trolling motor back in like 2010, something like that. It sat around doing nothing for most of the time I've had it, because it is a little bit of a hassle to go up to, my parents' cottage, which is kind of a distance. And then I used to drag my boat over the grass. I had a small 12-foot aluminum rowboat, and I used to drag it down to the beach and push it into the water, and then go get a heavy, lead acid battery, stick it in there, put the trolling motor on the back, also quite heavy, and then head out, and then you go so slow, right? But these days, I bought a trailer, and I also have a 14-foot aluminum boat. I gave my dad my old one. And so this boat is extremely stable. The trailer is really nice. The only thing is my new car doesn't have a trailer hitch yet, so I have to install one. But this is so much more convenient. The only thing that's inconvenient is the distance, right? It takes quite a long time to get up to my parents' cottage and then catch some fish and then head home, because there's no cell reception or anything up there. So it would be really nice to have all electric propulsion, with the GPS thing and everything. And if I wanted to do it traditional, there are projects for that, which is really neat. People have done it where they just took a traditional trolling motor and then made it automated and GPS controlled. And then there's people like RC Test Flight. I think it's RC Test Flight. I always confuse him with another YouTuber. But I think it's RC Test Flight, the one in Seattle or in Washington, I guess. He made his own pod motor, electric motor, and he has GPS control on that. So there's a couple options that I can try. Now, my only issue is if I decide to undertake this project at this point, it is now July 3rd. It'll be almost July 4th. It's going to be like, by the time I get it all ready and going, it's going to be middle of winter. So this is one of these projects that I'm going to have to start during the winter and be ready for the spring. And that involves doing work probably on the live stream too, because if you remember, I have lithium iron phosphate batteries here that I haven't even touched for like a year, simply because I don't get to it. I have so much stuff on my to-do list that it sort of like goes on the back burner, especially things that have to do with recreation. I just simply do not have time for recreation most of the time. So yeah, these are things that I'm committing to working on, to trying to get some projects done, and some projects that might be interesting to you, but also will involve me spending more time on the water, because I think that's good for my mental health, and I think that's good for, the channel in general, because it'll be like an ambitious project that I can, multi-step one, and we'll all learn some stuff along the way. So let me know what you think about attacking that problem. If I go in the way of, if I go the direction of creating my own electric drive, well, that's going to cost probably like $1,000, because the electric motors you need with enough torque to move a boat at a reasonable clip is quite expensive, and I'll have to use up all of my lithium iron phosphate batteries in series. So that means I have 16 cells, so 16 times 3.3? I think that's it. So yeah, I'm limited to like 52 volts, so it's not quite enough for big power. Plus they're only limited to 100 amps. So that's, let me just do the calculation real quick. That's that's 5.2 kilowatts. And if I divide that by 750 to get the horsepower, that's about a 7 horsepower equivalent. It'll be pretty close, I think, to being big enough for what I need. But yeah, that would be really interesting to me, and I would love to know what you guys think. But at this point, it is 10 p.m. on Wednesday the 3rd, and this episode is supposed to go live to my Patreon patrons today. So I better cut it off here and then do the edit and put it up for them. And plus, that means I get to go to sleep. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I would really like some feedback from you guys. So check out the form in the description, or leave a comment, or send me an email, or anything like that. It's really good to hear from you guys, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening, folks.